Welcome back to Woodworking with Wes. Today we're going to build a solid wood countertop. There is a special technique that will guarantee you a wood counter that won't split, crack, warp, and we'll show you all the steps. So let's get started. We start by cutting our boards to length and straight lining them so that we can glue them together. We're going to glue our top together in two halves. My planer's not wide enough to surface the entire top as one piece, so we'll do it in halves. With the glue all dry, now it's time to run our boards through the planer to 13/16. Our next step is to glue the two halves together to create the full width of our top. All right, our glue is all dry on our top. Let's take the clamps off. Before we sand, I'm going to show you a little trick that I use to get a good sand on a large top. First thing we do is we're going to clean off the glue from our seam, and we only have the one because we glued the two halves together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot of pencil marks on my top before I start sanding. Once I've sanded the pencil marks out, anything that's uneven will also be sanded out. And then I do a little extra across my glue up seam. Like I say, when all of my pencil marks are sanded out, my top is going to be sanded. Then I can go back. This is going to be all done in 80 grit. And then when I go back and sand out my pencil marks with 80, then I go back 120 and 150 for the final sand. Before we do that, however, we've got to do a build-up layer. After cutting our parts to size, we will drill pocket holes for our assembly. We'll now assemble our build-up in a rigid frame-style assembly. With our build-up layer all put together in a face frame style construction, we're going to sand both sides nice and smooth, and we're going to go around the front three sides, the two ends in the front, with a 1/2 inch bullnose router. So a 1/2 inch round over all along this front edge. When we get that all done, that will tell us the size we need to cut our solid top, which is going to sit on top of this. I'll talk about why we did it this way and what it does for us as soon as we're done. But let's get this all done and I'll come back. After we did our frame assembly, we sanded out both sides nice and smooth. I put a 1/2 inch round over on the sides and on the face. I also put an 1/8 inch round over underneath so that it makes a nice soft edge to our build-up layer. We're going to come back 3/4 of an inch on the sides and on the front, and that is going to be the measurement of our solid top. Our build-up layer is 22 3/4 by 62, so our solid top layer is going to be 22 by 60 1/2. We'll do that now. Okay, with our build-up level done, it's time to sand our solid top. 80 grit first, then 120. Now that our 120 grit sand is done, it's time to cut it to size. I'll square up the ends on my miter saw and cut to width with the table saw. With our top all cut to size, we'll use our router to put on the edge. Well, we have our top all sanded. It comes out really pretty. We put a nice edge and we have that all sanded also. The one thing about a 3/4 inch top, in fact any wood top that you glue together, there's always the problem that it might cup or bow. That's where our frame comes into place. What I'm going to show you next is the difference between disaster and a perfect flat wood countertop. We have put our solid top face down on our blanket so it wouldn't get scratched. This is our build-up layer, and we've drilled a lot of holes. Now, I'm going to turn it over so that we can put it in, and I want to show you one thing about the holes. All the holes to the front side are elongated. This is going to allow for expansion and contraction of the wood top, but screwing that top to a frame like this that is rigid is going to keep that top from bowing or cupping. Now we will go put a sealer coat on the bottom side of this once it's all together, but let's just put a couple of screws in this to get started. The back of our frame, we're going to screw down solid. Now no glue on this at all. We're going to screw the back side of our build-up level down good and solid. so that any expansion and contraction can take place to the front. We're using 1¼ grabbers, and we're just going to put them through the holes that we've already pre-drilled, just like this. I'm going to go ahead and get it all screwed together and show you how it looks. Okay, we have our build-up frame already screwed to the bottom. 26 screws, no glue. Let's flip it over, and you'll see how those 1/2-inch bullnose edges created a kind of a double-tier bullnose edge for our countertop. Oh, came out just like we had planned. Ready for finish. Let's do that. I just want to tell you a little story about this top. I built a countertop or an island top years ago that was 10 foot long and 3 feet wide out of solid walnuts using this exact technique. We never had a bit of problem. It never split. It never cracked. It looked beautiful. I saw it not too long ago. Still looks great. Let's finish this up. With our wood top all done, we have stained it with Minwax walnut stain, and we're getting now ready to spray polyacrylic with our handheld sprayer. Okay, we'll allow that to dry according to the recommended drying time. Give it a soft sand and a second coat. All right, we have our stain and the 3 coats of spray-on polyacrylic on our alder top. Alder has a lot of grain character, and so it really has brought that out. And it makes a beautiful top. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to see you next time on Woodworking with Wes.